Ever wondered what it would be like to be the wisest person in the world? Today we're diving into the incredible, and kinda tragic, story of King Solomon, a man who had it all: wisdom, wealth, power, and still managed to lose his way. It's a story that's as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. So, picture this. Solomon, a young king, takes the throne after his father, the famous King David. One night, God appears to him in a dream and says, "Ask for whatever you want me to give you." Pretty amazing, right? A blank check from the Almighty. What would you ask for? Infinite money, power. Solomon asks for something different. He asks for wisdom. He says, "Give your servant a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong." God is so impressed by this humble and selfless request that he not only grants Solomon unparalleled wisdom but also throws in riches and honor for good measure. And for a while, everything is golden, literally. Solomon's reign begins as a true golden age for Israel. His wisdom becomes legendary. Remember the story of the two women claiming the same baby. Solomon's clever solution to identify the real mother solidified his reputation as a brilliant ruler. People came from all over the world just to hear him speak. Under his leadership, Israel experiences unprecedented peace and prosperity. He builds the magnificent First Temple in Jerusalem, a project that took 7 years and was a stunning architectural feat. It was more than just a building. It was a symbol of God's presence among his people. The nation's economy boomed, trade routes flourished, and Solomon's personal wealth grew to staggering proportions. We're talking gold, silver, chariots, and horses in unbelievable quantities. It seemed like Solomon had the Midas touch. Everything he did turned to success. But here's where the story takes a turn. As Solomon's wealth and power grew, a subtle shift began to happen in his heart. The very things that were blessings started to become distractions. He began accumulating massive amounts of wealth, which was something God had warned kings not to do. He also built up a huge army with thousands of horses and chariots, directly going against divine instructions. It's like he started believing his own hype, thinking his success was all his own doing, forgetting the source of his gifts. Spiritual complacency started to set in. And then we get to the biggest issue: his relationships. Solomon loved many foreign women. The Bible says he had 700 wives, who were princesses, and 300 concubines. Now, besides being a logistical nightmare, this was a direct violation of God's command. God had specifically warned the Israelites not to intermarry with people from surrounding nations because they would surely turn your hearts after their gods. And that's exactly what happened. These foreign wives didn't just share his palace, they brought their cultures, their customs, and most importantly, their gods with them. To please his wives, Solomon started building altars and high places for their idols: Ashtoreth, Molech, Chemosh. The same man who built the glorious temple for the one true God was now funding and participating in idol worship right on the hills overlooking Jerusalem. It's a shocking turn of events. How could the wisest man on earth make such a foolish choice? It shows us a crucial truth. Wisdom and obedience are not the same thing. You can know what's right. You can have all the knowledge in the world. But if you don't have the discipline and commitment to actually do what's right, that wisdom is useless. Solomon's heart was divided. He was trying to serve God while also indulging his every desire and keeping his many wives happy. The consequences were severe. God told Solomon that because he had broken their covenant and failed to keep his commands, the kingdom would be torn away from him. However, out of respect for his father David, God said this wouldn't happen in Solomon's lifetime, but it would happen under his son's rule. And that's precisely what came to pass. After Solomon's death, his son Rehoboam's harsh policies, influenced by the arrogance bred in his father's court, led to a rebellion. The kingdom of Israel was split in two, the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. This division weakened the nation and led to centuries of conflict and eventual exile. The golden age was over. Solomon's own administration started to crumble even before his death. To fund his extravagant building projects and lavish lifestyle, he imposed heavy taxes and forced labor on his own people. The man who started out as a servant leader, asking for wisdom to govern justly, ended his reign as a ruler whose policies created widespread discontent and resentment. The unity he once fostered was undermined by his own actions. So, what's the legacy Solomon leaves behind? It's a dual one. On one hand, we have his incredible contributions. He's traditionally credited with writing the Book of Proverbs, a collection of timeless wisdom on how to live a skillful and godly life. He also likely wrote Ecclesiastes, a profound and sometimes cynical reflection on the meaning of life under the sun. In Ecclesiastes, you can almost hear the voice of an older, jaded Solomon looking back on his life of excess and concluding that without God, it's all meaningless, a chasing after the wind. His final conclusion in that book: fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. It seems that after a lifetime of chasing everything else, he finally realized what truly mattered. On the other hand, his life is a powerful cautionary tale. It's a warning about the dangers of compromise, the seductive allure of temptation, and the corrupting influence of power and wealth. It teaches us that no amount of intelligence or giftedness can protect you from moral failure if you don't maintain spiritual vigilance. Solomon's story shows that even the wisest among us can fall. and fall hard if we take our eyes off God and allow our hearts to be divided. It's a lesson in humility. Solomon started with humility, asking for wisdom instead of riches. But over time, pride crept in. He started relying on his own wisdom, his own wealth, his own power. He forgot that it was all a gift. His downfall wasn't a single event but a slow fade, a series of small compromises that led to a massive spiritual collapse. Yielding to the temptation of foreign alliances and personal desires set him on a path to ruin. His story forces us to look at our own lives. Where are our potential blind spots? What are the small compromises we're making that could lead us down a dangerous path? Are we using the gifts God has given us for His glory or for our own? Solomon's life is a stark reminder that true wisdom isn't just about knowing things, it's about living in faithful obedience to God. It's about guarding our hearts above all else, because everything we do flows from it. The story of the wisest man who ever lived ultimately teaches us that wisdom without faithfulness is a house built on sand. It might look impressive for a while, but eventually, the storm comes, and it all comes crashing down. A powerful lesson for us all. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story as fascinating as I do, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history and faith. See you next time, and God bless.